Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Maqbool with you at PTV World, and in today's show we're going to be taking a look at the current political dynamics of the country, of course, in light of the upcoming general elections, the 8th of February. We also know, of course, that the ECP has held a meeting with regards to the security situation in the country, particularly in KP and Balochistan, in light of the recent attacks against different party workers and, of course, against ECP offices as well, something that also happened just a short while ago today in Karachi. And this is important, especially with regards to the kind of reassurances that have been given by the Chief Election Commissioner and, of course, the meeting that was held with different stakeholders, that the security situation is going to be under control and that all measures have been put in place to ensure that there is peace and order in the upcoming days to the election and, of course, at the election day as well. And this is an important concern of different quarters, of course, with regards to how we are going to be moving forward and what sort of steps will be taken in this regard. There is, of course, also the concern of any potential delays, again, something that was reiterated by the Election Commission, that whatever the situation is, the ECP is going to continue with the elections on 8th of February as per the schedule. At the same time, we've also, of course, seen different political rallies by different political parties also taking place, and all the political leaders gearing up for the big day. At the same time, we also saw that the PTI, in light of what has happened previously as well, had announced their schedule for intra-party polls on the 5th of February. However, it says that according to the directives of the previous party chairman, they have decided against it, and that they think that this is going to take away the attention of the voters and the candidates, and so they're going to do that post-election. How much of an impact that's going to have on, of course, the party's position and participation in the elections remains to be seen. At the same time, the independent candidates backed by the PTI, of course, is something that the PTI is counting on in the absence of its electoral symbol. And so this is going to be an important discussion as well as to what sort of positioning exists with these independent candidates and the options, of course, of different political parties, and whether or not there can be any real gain in terms of the independent candidates that are contesting backed by the PTI. We've also seen that the Chief Election Commissioner has remarked that the independents, of course, are required constitutionally to choose a party, but if they win in a majority enough, they can actually choose their own PM as well. So we're going to be taking a look at what does that mean on ground and how much of a possibility exists of that actually happening and what it would mean for different political parties. This is going to be our focus in the show today, and for this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. We've also been joined on telephone line by Mr. Nouman Muhib Kakakhel, who's Advocate High Court. Thank you very much, Nouman, for joining us and being part of the discussion, and we'll also be joined later on by Mr. Javed, Jadoon, who's a political analyst. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of the discussion. And with regards to, of course, the kind of situation that exists, Farrukh, and just a few days left to the elections, what is your perspective in terms of where we stand today and the way that people are perceiving the elections and the way different parties are preparing for it, in light of all of the indicators going on, not just in terms of cases against party leaders such as that of the PTI, but also, of course, in terms of the security threats and attacks on political parties and ECP offices, and then, of course, with regards to what really lies ahead in terms of the decisions that are then required by the government that actually comes in.
Right. Thank you very much, Sanam. I think that now finally we have started seeing the election momentum in full swing. We have seen PMLN and People's Party actually holding their jalsas. Other political parties have also taken initiative, and they can be seen addressing huge public rallies. Having said that, of course, PTI is one party that has been through a lot, and that is because of the consequences of its own actions. So naturally, they are at this moment more circumspect. But having said that, I think that they also have some kind of plan in place to ensure some effective vote transfer on the date of elections. So we are going to just wait and see. Regarding law and order situation and legal troubles of PTI leadership, I think these two things have been there in the past as well. Pakistan's political culture is such that at least one political party usually is on the receiving end of some kind of accountability. But even then, those parties, for example, PMLN in 2018, when their leaders Mia Nawaz Sharif and Maryam Nawaz were not only indicted, but they were sent behind bars just before the elections. Even then they participated and they garnered a considerable chunk of votes. Having said that, finally, the security issue, of course, there are elements that would always try to derail the electoral process. So we keep on hearing about random attacks at various places. Yesterday, Election Commission actually took stock of this situation and issued instructions. So in coming days, one is hoping that we are going to see a decline of these incidents and situation actually smoothing up.
Right, and Faisal, of course, this is a major concern with regards to how the election rallies and, of course, then the participation by different voters actually come into play. And I want your take on measures that have been put in place. And while, of course, this has been reiterated by the meeting as well and by different stakeholders that there is enough measures that have been taken and there is security in place, I want to know whether or not there is enough planning also, especially in terms of intelligence sharing and in terms of the personnel that are actually going to be on ground and taking care of the situation.
So now obviously when we talk about the election rallies, of course the very first and immediate thought is of regarding the security mechanism which is being applied by our security agencies. Of course the civil side as well as the military side, both of the sides, they are in a very good collaboration when it comes to ensuring that all of the rallies are secure. And that is why we have seen that yesterday's IBO attack, which was obviously the terrorist attack, was neutralized before it took place. It was all because of the intelligence sharing, and our intelligence nexus is making sure that wherever there are certain threats rising to deter the political campaigns of the political parties, they are getting countered. And I think this is the way forward, and this is how our institutions are making sure that till the election date and after that as well, all of the political parties, whatever their political activities are to restore democracy, to the restoration of democratic process in Pakistan, I think it is restoration in a way.
I mean, it is in place. We still are part of the democratic.
It is in place, but obviously, we are moving towards where the election is taking place, and it's a course which is being considered as a democratic course. And to ensure that course, of course, our intelligence agencies as well as the security agencies, they are upbeat and they are working day and night to ensure that.
Right, and Mr. Nouman, I want your take as well on what, of course, the ECP has said with regards to the security situation, but also add to that the remark that has been also made by the Chief Election Commissioner with regards to the independent candidates and their participation. It's an interesting one, especially with regards to how he says that if they're in majority, they can select their own PM. Is this just a rhetoric or a technicality that is being discussed and not much of a possibility?
Well, I see there is a possibility of that because you see people are coming out for PTI. There are a lot of people, like if we see the public opinion on social media, or even if we meet people on roads, in markets, everywhere, people are coming out in favor of PTI, especially after what happened to the chairman of PTI. So there's a great confusion that is created. And people are coming out independent, all of the candidates of PTI, especially those who have not been granted tickets. So there's a good possibility that majority of the candidates, if not majority, maybe equally shared candidates in the total membership of the assemblies would come out independent. And what happens is that the confusion that is now would be a small confusion that we would get to see after the elections, as there would be halal horse trading going on, because those politicians, independent politicians, who were party members are not party members anymore. So when they get elected independently on vote of PTI, they would not be in control of PTI anymore. So they can opt for, within 3 days, they can opt for any political party, or they can choose to remain independent. So what the question is whether they would
Muhib, can't that be
Well,
challenged in the courts by PTI itself?
No, no,
Because
no.
if we look at
No,
the
no, no. It
you know,
cannot
modus
be challenged.
operandi
No,
of
no.
PTI assuring them their support, there was a mechanism applied by the PTI itself, and that PTI's mechanism can be obviously you know, taken to the
I would
courts
clarify.
and
Right, and
I would
Nouman,
clarify
add to that
PTI
two more questions that I have as follow-up for what you said earlier, and I want your take on what you meant when you said halal horse trading. What exactly is halal
come to
horse
that.
trading, and how does it actually manifest in these elections? And
I will come
secondly,
to that.
when you talk about the independence choice of whether or not they move to a certain party or not, I want to understand what the CEC then means. If the independents, all of them, or the majority of them don't choose a party, and they are in majority, then whatever candidate that they choose as the PM, then will it not be a party? It will just be independents having a prime minister, and then we'll have a government by the independents. Is that how it works?
and the aspect of prima facie, would it be discussed in the later on in the courts?
Okay, I would come to these questions one by one. The first
Yes,
question sir
please.
asked was that whether PTI can go to court against these members. They cannot, because they are not PTI members anymore. PTI is not in the political sphere. It is not contesting elections. There is no intra-party elections. There is no symbol assigned to it. PTI is nowhere. These people are not in control of PTI. Article 63A that contains the defection element, that cannot be held against them anymore, because they are contesting independently, irrespective of the support of PTI or not. People are coming. There are 3-4 candidates from every constituency who are claiming that we are being supported by PTI. But the Constitution, the Representation of People's Act, and the Election Act does not favor PTI in going against these people who will be elected on the vote of PTI. They can opt for either party or no party at all. Now coming to
Noman,
the second question.
isn't this right, Noman?
Let him finish.
Isn't this right that when the decision came out of the bat symbol, in that decision by the courts, it was clearly said that PTI as a party does exist, but of course it would not be allowed to have its symbol bat, and PTI was given a course. PTI was given a sort of mechanism from courts at the same time, saying that PTI has to conduct a fresh intra-party elections. That is why PTI is doing that intra-party elections just before the elections.
But they've decided against it.
No,
They're not
sir,
doing
they
it.
are not.
They're not
They
holding
are
it.
not. They just announced that they are not going for intra-party elections before the general election. The question is that if you go through that judgment of the Supreme Court, they are a political party. They remain a political party, but their candidates are not contesting elections. They are not being given a representation. Their symbol has been taken away. That is one reason these candidates are being referred to as independent candidates, because within 3 days they have to opt for a party. Why do they have to opt for a political parties? Because they are not members of any political party, nor are they contesting elections for any political party. Because if you see the Representation of People's Act, the Election Act, read with the Constitution, they have to be members of that political party, contesting elections against the symbol of that political party, and that is the exact reason why they would be in complete control of that political party. Now, taking away the symbol, the ticket, each and everything, the political party have no control over these independent members. They are independent members just like any other independent members who are given time to join a political party or remain independent, just like Ali Wazir was in the
Nouman,
National
the
Assembly.
question that we were trying to understand, or what Faisal was posing, was with regards to any sort of obligation that exists between the independent candidate and the party that has backed it. But while there might be any sort of verbal or ethical understanding or obligation,
Pledges are
there
being
is
made.
no legal obligation for that independent candidate to choose that
And
party.
by the way, let me also ask you.
There is no legal obligation. On
Nouman Sahib,
independent candidates.
hang on. Nouman Sahib, hang on.
Ji, sir.
When a candidate actually applies for, actually files their nomination papers, usually they also mention which party are they contesting from. So is it not also a part of the record of Election Commission that these people got a ticket from PTI and they are going to contest as PTI's candidate even if they don't have the symbol?
Excellent question.
Sir, the answer to this question is that there were people who were not even given tickets by PTI, and they had mentioned PTI as their political party against which they are contesting elections. We were having cases in appellate tribunal of election commission, and in that there were a lot of issues with regard to not having ticket, and even then mentioning of political parties. But that is not the sole, the ground for a political party to handle a person or control a candidate. That does
Right.
not find basis in that.
No,
They
no,
are
no.
independent. See, the
My
people had.
premise is
Sir,
simple.
I want to.
Numan sir, my
Ji, ji,
premise is simple. If, for example, 3 or 4 people have applied claiming that they are actually PTI as members, at least they actually have disclosed to the election commission their loyalties. If they actually change their party, will it not be accountable in a court of law?
They're not changing the party. They're not changing the party, sir. When the nomination papers were being filed, PTI was in field and they had a symbol. The Peshawar High Court judgment came after the nomination papers were accepted, and thereafter the judgment of the Supreme Court came. So when the election symbol was taken away from PTI and their party was kind of sidelined from the election, the mere mentioning of a political party in the nomination paper does not find basis or become strength of the political party to handle a person. Maybe later on, there is no such precedent on this question so far. Maybe if it is taken to the courts, the superior court, the high courts, or the Supreme Court, maybe it would be interpreted in a certain way. But for now, there is no basis of any person mentioning a political party and later on not being given that particular ticket and contesting the election independently, and the political party claiming him to be their candidate. It cannot work like that, sir.
But if a mention of that particular candidate in their website, on their, all of the social media pages, wouldn't be an evidence enough to prove it that the party itself was
Sir,
actually supporting that?
Social media is not binding.
no, sir, that would not be. That is
And
not,
even,
sir,
even if the
judicial
party was
evidence.
supporting it, what you're
Merely-
saying is there's no legal obligation to go for that party.
There's
But
no legal
Nouman
obligation.
sir, my
Even if-
question remains with regards to halal horse trading and
Yeah.
also with regards to the participation of the independents and the remark by the CEC that if they're in majority, they can choose their own PM. I just want to understand how that works out. What party would they represent, or will they just be independents and there'll be an independent PM?
Okay, sir, the developing countries they are famous for horse trading, and in Pakistan we have certain examples of horse trading. Especially the people, the elected members of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, who were thrown out of the Legislative Assembly on committing defection under Article 63A. What we expect now is after the election, all of these political parties, as we presently see that People's Party, the political party of Jahangir Tareen, the political party created by Parvez Khattak, they are openly calling out for the independent candidates and voters of PTI to support them and opt for joining their political party. So what happens after the election is that these independent candidates will be given time, and just like the previous election of 2018, these political parties will be chasing these independent candidates, offering them God knows what terms and conditions on which they have to join the political parties. I would not go into details of that because that is open and a truth that we all know about. But that would be happening. Not all of these people, since they are not controlled by the political party, it is not necessary that all of them would opt for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Maybe they would, but there is no legal or constitutional obligation on them to opt for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. They can opt for any party or no party at all. Now, with regard to the question that you asked, that whether these independent candidates can appoint their own prime minister, the answer per the constitution is yes. If we go to the chapter with regard to the cabinet, rather that article, that is probably Article 60. Article 60 states that people who are elected to the National Assembly or to the Provincial Assembly, they have to vote for a specific person to be appointed as a Prime Minister or a Chief Minister. It does not mention a political party. So if we go into strict interpretation of the Constitution, then the answer is yes, independent candidates can have their own prime minister or a chief minister. But probably when the chief election commissioner said that, it was a satire, but it is possible per the constitution.
All right.
Nouman, you've earlier, during your conversation, you've mentioned one very important thing, and that is related to obviously the parties like Pervez Khattak Saab, and we have seen in recent past that even Bilawal Bhutto was actually seeking the help of the youthful voters of PTI, and at the same time he said that he will be inviting the independent candidates after the elections to join PTI. Don't you think that these parties, these political figures, they have actually given up on their own agendas, and they already know that somebody else is going to win, and later on, of course, we will be going towards the halal horse trading, as you have mentioned earlier?
Exactly, sir. These political parties are targeting these voters and these candidates for a reason, because they know that there is a possibility of it happening, because this is not the first time it is coming into the field of this political sphere. If we look at all the Senate elections that we have had, there is always blame of horse trading. Like I said, the defected members of PTI, every time we hear of horse trading, especially in Senate elections, people of one party voting for, even though it is a secret balloting, but people hear that, okay, we have had 8 votes, but where did all these votes go? So these votes that disappear and go to members from other political parties who are elected as senators, that is open horse trading. That is evidence of that. Even though it is very hard to know who these members are, but still we know that there is horse trading. So these
Right.
political parties, just like Pakistan People's Party, which is openly coming for these independent candidates and voters, for Pervez Khattak's party, Jahangir Tareen's party, they are targeting these candidates.
Right. I want to understand one thing, Farrukh. When we talk about the independent candidates and the right to choose any political party, do the political parties don't have the right to lobby?
Right. Political parties have every right to lobby and actually secure as many votes as possible to get their PM elected, right? That is why every time there's an election, independents are wooed by various sides, and then you see many people actually joining various political parties. Especially one example in recent times is of FATA members or ex-FATA members. At that time when they were FATA members, usually they would actually run as independents, and those independents would later on join a political party. So that happens.
But then why is it looked down upon?
What my worthy brother was calling halal horse trading, I like to call flow crossing, right? One thing is for sure, if you are using a political party's ticket, if you are using its resources, if it is clear that you are actually supported by their voters, and then you actually flip side, that is actually thought to be a negative thing, right? And that's why I don't like this term horse trading, because A, horse trading is a pretty valid profession on its own, but even in politics also it doesn't sound good that you're referring to human beings as horses.
Yeah.
So what I like is flow crossing. So in flow crossing cases, of course, it is thought that people actually throw in a lot of money, and this is what I've been actually advocating for in the past 20 years, that we have to actually come up with campaign finance laws, money trail laws regarding who's actually getting how many duffel bags when they have been elected and they have to be wooed by a political party, and then of course disclosure laws, so that you have enough legal ground to ask anybody, if you had this much money in your account and tomorrow you are going to have that much, how did you get it? Or for that matter, customs or other inland revenue can actually raid your place and secure those duffel bags that might actually carry billions or crores of rupees. Having said that, this independent bit also reminds me of two other elections. One was Zia's election, Sana. when in 1985 Ziaul Haq actually held non-party basis election. At that time it wasn't actually money that played that role, it was the establishment, because there was a dictator sitting and he could actually coerce people to do whatever he wanted, and that's how you got Junejo as the prime minister. And even then they could not get along for long, and eventually that assembly was abandoned and also dissolved also. Another very interesting example is Ayub Khan's time, when basic democracies institution or idea was floated, and that was that don't actually go for the real constituencies like you have for MNAs or MPAs, but actually local body elections will return to somewhere around 30,000-40,000 candidates, not candidates, actually members of Basic Democracy Council, and those people are going to vote for the president of Pakistan, that was Ayub Khan. So when you have people with small stakes, it becomes very easy to coerce them to vote for a certain person, right? So this has been happening in the past. Right now, we are just looking at PTI because they lost the symbol. But you have to actually look at what is being said, and what Faisal was saying, that Bilawal said this and Bilawal said that. It means he's saying that we are going to get PTI people. But you realize that Murtaza Nawaz Khokhar and many other people who were in the past working with People's Party, they are running as independents also. These are electables who might not actually want to go to any political party. Similarly, there are many people like Fawad Chaudhry, although he is not running now, but there are many people who were once in PTI, they left but did not join IPP, and they are electables, and they might also get elected, right? So there is always a possibility that they might not be eyeing PTI's members, but others as well. My fear is what happens if what the Chief Election Commissioner is saying becomes true, that there are so many independent candidates, members, that in the end they decide to form their own party or get somebody else elected. I mean, there are people, we have a history of people coming out of nowhere, right? Look at the long list of caretakers, so anything can happen.
And what would that say of the major political parties contesting in this election?
Yeah, I think that two political parties, particularly PMLN and People's Party, even if they can't swing the votes now, in these atmospherics, then they should actually design from politics and go and do Allah, nothing else.
Right, and then Faisal, with regards to what you said earlier also and what Farrukh commented on, there seems to be this understanding or this expectation by PPP or other political parties as well that the PTI-backed independent candidates can be swayed. And we have seen previously that the PTI has given a lot of emphasis and confidence with regards to their party workers and their leaders and their party strength. Why is it then that these PTI-backed independent candidates are being looked as potential candidates for other political parties?
Yes, Sana, Farrukh has rightly pointed out earlier related to obviously Mustafa Nawaz Khokhar and all of these people who are electables, and of course previously they were associated with the People's Party or PTI even at the same time. But I think clarity is already there that the independent candidates who are being sort of supported by PTI as a political party, they will be obviously nominated by in their website as well. So out of that list, whoever is getting, of course, they are eligible for the
I understand that.
Who said that? That they are going to actually pick and choose from PTI's candidates?
Well,
have you heard anybody actually say Bilawal said it?
No, nobody said, but the word independent candidate was used, and of course
so
the independent candidate.
Now PTI has a copyright on independent as well.
No. The other gentleman I was obviously talking about is Parvez Khattak. Parvez Khattak knows that in his province, the PK constituencies, Of course, majority of them, they only have one single candidate from PTI side, and they are contesting elections as independent. So he was referring to them because
did he say that?
the majority of them, they are his old colleagues, and he believes that once they win the elections, he can.
Hang on, there's a counterpoint to it. Remember 2018, when PTI actually, because of Tareen factor, did not give tickets to many candidates who wanted to run. They ran as independent. And do you know which parties did they join?
PTI.
They joined PTI.
Yeah.
Right? One gentleman from southern Punjab with my last name actually became health minister. Right?
Yeah.
So they remember one thing. It will not be that easy to sway a candidate that actually comes with a clear backing of PTI. A, because there's the factor of oath. The B, then also these people are not but traditional electables. These people will owe a lot to PTI.
Right, and my question
Sana,
actually, Faisal, to you was, in your opinion, do you really think that the candidates that are being backed by PTI are that easy to sort of get on board by other political parties?
Not at all, and things are already apparent. I mean, if they win the number of seats and they are in a position to form a government, as it is being predicted by all of the corners, that if there are independent candidates who win the majority seats, they might be in a position to form a government. Then
Who
there
is
is a name.
actually predicting that?
Many analysts, many analysts, they are doing it.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to say is, the clarity is already
hang
there.
on, Faisal, Donald Trump used to say something very interesting.
Yeah.
He would put out tweets, and he would say, whenever he did not have any solid backing of any data, many people are saying.
Bigly saying,
I am saying this.
Yeah, bigly saying that. What I'm trying to say is, one candidate is already, everyone knows that he might be favored for being, running for the Prime Minister, and that is obviously Barrister Gohar. Barrister Gohar is contesting on NA seat, and of course, he is being termed as, if there are numbers which are being secured by PTI-backed, candidates, then of course Barrister Gohar would be running for Prime Minister in coming future. Yeah. But the important factor, which are one-liner I wanted to say about
the country could do with far worse.
Yeah,
He is very good candidate.
Sana, about horse trading. I mean, I have a very very harsh position for this horse trading in
Halal
the
or
political,
otherwise?
I must say,
It is not haram, by the way.
it's not haram, but it is too haram for me. Why I'm saying this? Because I always say, I always say, Sana, that in the horse, first of all, I want to clear this, that horse is a very loyal animal, and horse should not be used for this dirty kind of business which we have in our political system. Why I say that it should be donkey trading. Reason being, the donkey
I would
which is
disagree.
elected.
Donkeys are absolutely beautiful creatures.
And
I
by the way,
don't
hang on,
think,
hang on,
let's
hang
not
on.
bring animals in this at all.
I'm sorry, who gives us any right to call human beings animal by the name of animal?
Yes.
Yeah, we shouldn't be
If
using
anything,
that.
we're far worse than any animal.
To me, it's not
I'm
the
not
donkey
for
or the
any-
horse which is being traded in this trade. It is the will of the people which is being traded, and that should be banned in our political system, because the will of the people actually, they cast vote to bring somebody up with the obviously an idea behind it, and if that idea is betrayed of the voters, then it should never be accepted in our political system.
By the way, regarding disloyalty or abuse of money in politics, I'm totally against these two things. But I still believe that even if this country is already very polarized and very angry, please don't use such emotive terms to actually to dehumanize people, because then a lot of bad things can happen.
Right. Nouman, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, since we are talking about independent candidates and symbols now, I would like to throw some light on how the horse trading is being made halal. It started from 1970, when the political symbol of Pakistan People's Party was taken away by the then dictator Ziaul Haq. They had a sword for a symbol, and that was banned. There were 3 symbols banned of 3 major political parties. That even then, the purpose was that people would go independent. There would be a confusion created. Independent candidates were being promoted, and then they were being, pushed into other political parties so that People's Party can be, kept or sidelined from forming government. Then the same happened to PMLN Nawaz, and the symbol that I'm talking about, the sword symbol, that was restored to Pakistan People's Party in 2018, and they were so wise, like the vision, they were expecting it to happen again. Therefore, Pakistan People's Party have two political parties. One have the sign of an arrow, and one have the sign of a sword. It was a twin
PPP
sword
and
till
PPP.
2018, and in 2018 it got restored by the courts, and now they have a single sword sign. So I think this, like I refer to it, sir called it floor crossing. That is correct. I agree with sir. But I call it horse trading and halal horse trading for the reason that it is being promoted by the system. It is being promoted in such a way that independent candidates are being brought, rather promoted and being propagated in the people,
No,
and
Nouman sir,
they
let
are.
me ask you a cross question because we are talking about this thing that somehow the system is actually encouraging it. Who asked PTI not to follow their constitution in holding elections?
Can you please come again, sir?
PTI, the symbol of PTI was taken away because they did not actually hold the elections as per their own constitution. Who was stopping them
Sir,
from
that would
holding
be.
such an election?
Sir, the question is political. The answer would be political as well, because
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm giving a legal perspective of each and everything. Legally, if we go into it and we see judgments of the Supreme Court, I would not give my own opinion on it. The judgments of the Supreme Court till date, till the judgment of Justice Qazi Faiz Isa came, it always say that technicalities are not to be looked into, and if it is in the better good of the people at large, it is to be followed. The technicalities are to be
No,
sidelined. So what
Numan
happened
sir,
here is,
sorry,
I would,
hang
sir,
on.
sir, sir,
Before,
let me,
Numan
if I
sir,
be allowed to
hang
complete,
on.
sir.
Before there was Supreme Court judgment, there was a decision by ECP. And ECP is quoting the constitution of PTI that according to that constitution, they did not hold the election. Now you are referring to the CJP's actually verdict. I don't recall that segment that you are referring to. But my dear sir, we have been sparring with the previous Chief Justice that it is not the place of a
Sir,
Supreme
I would,
Court or any court to make laws. A Supreme Court cannot invent laws, sir.
if I be allowed, sir, I would like to complete what I was saying.
Yeah.
The election commission have the power to look into certain things. Then it is for the High Court and the Supreme Court to interpret the Constitution or any other law. So, if we look into the legal and constitutional sphere and the judgments of the Supreme Court, I said the people's view and the public opinion is to be looked into. It is one major political party, just like PMLN, just like People's Party, and people's view should have been looked into. Now there is a confusion with regard to a political party that is being supported by majority of the youth in Pakistan. What I am saying is that legally, those technicalities should have been sidelined in light of the former
Under
judgments
what
of
law?
the Supreme Court and other superior courts.
Sir, under what
But
law?
sir, what we are going into now, Gigi,
Numan
sorry
sir,
sir,
under what law?
Under the larger interest of the
No,
people
under
no.
of
what law?
Pakistan.
Under
What
the
law?
under the Constitution. Under the
Which part of
Constitution.
the
If we have
Constitution?
the Constitution, we don't
Which
have to go
part of
into
the
other laws. The
Constitution?
Constitution is to prevail over the
Which
Article 184.3 and Article 199 of the Constitution.
that is you are
That
referring to
says
regional
that
jurisdiction.
says that fund.
That does not give
Sorry,
the
sir.
Supreme Court right to make laws.
It has the right to interpret laws.
Of course,
It has
but
the
what
when
you are
we say
asking
the
for
right to interpret laws. I would like
what
to
you are
refer to a
asking, sir,
judgment, sir, that
what Nouman Sahab, what you are asking for is Supreme Court to actually set aside mere technicalities which are laws and to actually build on something else, right?
Build on Peshawar High
Sir,
Court's
I
decision.
would like to, since we are talking about laws now, there is a judgment 2015 SCMR page 401. That is when the 18th Amendment was challenged by the Rawalpindi High Court in the Supreme Court under Article 184(3). The Supreme Court said that under Article 239 there is a bar that the Supreme Court or any other court cannot look into any amendments in the Constitution, but full bench, full court of 17 judges said that even the Constitution can be looked into if the preamble or the fundamental rights or the objectives resolution is being stepped upon even by the Parliament, despite the fact that we consider Parliament sovereign. So there are
Yeah, but hang on,
salient features of the
my
Constitution,
humble
and then we have
submission is
fundamental rights.
you're saying that a political party's right to have a symbol is a fundamental right. I got that. But my humble submission is that when I
I'm not
was a
saying
kid, no, hang on, Nouman sahab, allow me, just hear me out. When I was a kid, and if I actually fought with another kid, the first thing that would happen is that whenever my parents came, they would hold me accountable. Why the hell are you fighting? You can say that the Supreme Court should have done this or that, and you are saying that election commission should have done this or that. But my question stands: for 2 years, PTI had the chance of holding those elections, and it was their constitution. Election Commission of Pakistan actually gave its own verdict. In verdict, they're quoting whose constitution? They're quoting constitution of PTI. Why did PTI why should we allow PTI that carte blanche and say that they are not responsible for their own actions and consequences that might follow? Nouman sahab.
You're right, sir. You're right when you say that they have not held a proper, fair election. But what I am saying is, I completely agree with your opinion and your take on this. But what I am saying is that there are majority of the youth, and there is a very big population of the country that is supporting that political party. And in view of that opinion and that support that they are enjoying, they should have been given a chance, and those technicalities should have been set aside. The same happened with Awami National Party, sir, ANP. That happened. There were allegations, rather was an objection on them as well as PTI and ANP. They were both facing these allegations that they have not held a fair election. ANP was given another chance. They were given a fair chance, and PTI has been completely taken off the political sphere.
what
That is
did
my
the
take
Chief
on this.
Justice
That
say?
is, sir, that is my opinion.
Nouman,
I agree
And
with
what
you.
did the Chief Justice say about citing two cases simultaneously?
Sorry, sir.
Remember that? You must have
Sorry, sir,
followed
can
the
you-
proceedings. He said that if somebody was let go in a murder case, doesn't mean the murder case that is under discussion should also be allowed to actually be overlooked, right? So that is something that
Sir,
is
that was
important to remember.
technicality. That is what I'm referring to as a technicality. If
No,
you,
it is
sir,
not.
must have read the judgment of Peshawar High Court as well. The judgment of Peshawar High Court as well. Each and every para in each and every portion of the judgment of Peshawar High Court on this symbol case is supported by a judgment of the superior courts of Pakistan, including the August Supreme Court. So if the Supreme Court's judgment is being
Now what
cited
you are doing
by
is
Peshawar.
forum shopping. It is called forum shopping. That if you like verdict of one forum, you are going to actually give it precedence over the others.
No, it's not
Look,
forum shopping.
I have
This
been a
is
voter
in
of PTI.
Pakistan. In
I've been
Pakistan, there
a
is a
voter of
binding effect of
PTI,
judgment
and I
of the
have all
Superior
the
Court.
sympathies with the party. But with due respect, you have to realize and accept that it is PTI that dropped the ball.
For whatsoever reasons.
I agree with this. I agree with your opinion, sir, but I have a separate take on this, and I already have put forward my opinion on this.
Right. Thank you very much, Nouman, for doing that, and thank you for being part of the debate and being with us for the first time. And we hope that you come back and we can talk more about whatever aspects that you want to share, especially with regards to whatever goes on in the elections. But Farrukh, my last question to you before we conclude is with reference to the PTI's decision now to not hold intra-party polls. Why do you think that is? Why did this first came in as an announcement and then the decision was changed?
I think PTI is, as I pointed out, going through a lot, and that is why what is happening is that they are actually uncertain about certain things. And they initially thought that they can hold this election, and after that perhaps they can get their symbol back. But Election Commission of Pakistan has already made it clear that because elections are so close and security papers actually are not available, it takes a lot of time to reprint the ballot paper, and that can potentially defer the elections. So they saw no point, I think, and that's why the party's founder actually called it off. I think that they are going to hold the elections after the general election, and that is something that they'll have to keep on doing. Other political parties should also be ready that if not today, tomorrow they are going to also face this kind of music.
Absolutely. Thank you, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, for joining the debate. As always, that's all we have from the show, and we'll now see you on Monday.